Hey, what is going on, guys? Today I am sharing with you a video that I made for Assetto Corsa, for Assetto Corsa 2 that's coming out in 2024, but instead of going to be things that I want to see, in the future for this new upcoming game. This is stuff I want to see right now for Automobilista 2. Now, by right now, I obviously don't mean one massive update, because this is a lot, but over time, until the development cycle of AMS2 is up, I hope that at least a lot of these things can be done. I think most of them are pretty realistic, and a lot of them they've already started doing, especially on the gameplay and physics front. But I'll go over what I'm talking about here. I have 5 DLCs that I would love to see, and I have 5 gameplay features that I want to see. So 10 things total. Let's just get right into this. So let's start out with the DLC here. Now, Racing USA, this is only part 1. There are going to be 2 other parts, 3 total, and I already said it in another video, but I want to see IndyCar and NASCAR brought in. I don't know what else they could bring in for American motorsports, so unless we're getting like drag racing or something, but I couldn't really see that. So IndyCar and NASCAR, I want to see in AMS2, but I also do expect to see in AMS2. I feel like with IndyCar, I kind of have a little bit of a track list here that I'd like to see. I feel like Mid-Ohio would be great because that's one that IMSA also goes to, so that one could kind of double up with the DPI and GTE cars. Of course, we already have Long Beach with Part 1, so I'm saying we bring in Texas, and I think for the first time in any sim, I think it would be super cool to see the brand new Nashville street circuit they're going to be racing on in August. For the NASCAR DLC, of course, you're going to want to see some ovals, so we already would theoretically have Texas, so I think maybe something like, I don't know, maybe we already have Daytona, so you probably wouldn't want another super speedway. Maybe like Bristol, Martinsville, and I don't know, man, maybe like Nashville or, some other like intermediate track, kind of the 1.5 miles, which I know people don't like a ton. But with the NASCAR one, I would like to see the brand new next-gen car, not the one that's outgoing right now, the Gen 6. This is its final season. So, yeah, that's what I want to see, hopefully, from the rest of the Racing USA DLC. Next up is the final pack, I would say, like with a theme in this list, and this is Le Mans / WEC. Now, I kind of put this on here, now I'm reading it now. Of course, Motorsport Games, who makes R Factor 2, owns the licensing to WEC and Le Mans, but I don't know, maybe in the future they can work around that somehow, just to have the Circuit de la Sarthe and maybe some WEC Le Mans hypercars and bring in some LMP2s. Maybe you could also do that with the Racing USA DLC, maybe just like, hey, here's an Orco 7, I don't know. But I would, if this thing could run Le Mans, man, with its beautiful day-night cycle, the weather, man, I would lap Le Mans so much in this game. I can't even get started on it. And the final one would maybe be like car packs. We've never seen this for AMS2, but I feel like they could implement it. And the first one is more GT3 / GT4 cars. I know this isn't a GT3 / 4 sim. Of course, Assetto Corsa Competizione does that very well. But for what we have in AMS2, they're not really fleshed out, so I'd like to see the Lambo, Huracan, the Ferrari 488 Evo, cars like that. I'm just trying to think. The Lexus LFA could be cool. Just things like that. Just broaden the GT3 and GT4 grid. I didn't put this down officially, but maybe 1 or 2 more GTE cars as well. Maybe if we could get the Aston, that would be cool. I think I'd be happy with that. BMW, Corvette, Porsche, and Aston. I think I would go with that. And the final one is more DPI cars. Let's just get I know they're leaving in 2023, but let's just get the Mercedes and the Acura in here so we can just have a full DPI IMSA grid. Please, Ritza. Now on to the gameplay. Now this first one is going to be one that I think everyone can share a sentiment of. Just overall physics improvements, specifically if you have to tune in one thing, I would have to say the bounciness of the cars. The cars feel they just don't feel like how I would expect them to. Fully, it's not far off. I said that in my review, which you can watch if you go to my AMS2 playlist. It's not far off, but it's just not there, and I feel like just getting that bouncy and floatiness down a little bit, that would help AMS2 immensely, because the rest of the physics honestly aren't that horrible. If you could just kind of reduce the floatiness again, I think it would be a lot better to drive. Now, with some cars, you can get rid of the floatiness in setup just a little bit, so better default setups if that's possible for a lot of cars. There's no reason, I think this is one that Jimmy Broadbent actually said, there's no reason why the default setup shouldn't be, not the best feeling one, but if there's a way that the car can fundamentally physics-wise feel better, that should be the default setup. So if that is possible, let's bring in a whole new slew of default setups, because especially when I'm doing, you know, 3-lap races on AI, you know, just to get some gameplay, I'm not going to have a full setup or anything like that, so it would just make the overall driving experience a lot better. And I know I'm a content creator, so maybe there's not a lot of people like this, but my races are normally like 5 minutes long just because I'm trying to get gameplay and then I get out. So yeah, I don't really have time to make setups and things like that, and I wouldn't anyway for such a short race. So better default setups, please, Ritza. The next one, this one's not very important per se, more of just something I would like to see, and it's more weather slots. I know there's 4 right now, but I feel like if you were genuinely doing a full, like, you know, 3-hour endurance race, which I think is the most I would recommend someone do by themselves, I feel like 4 isn't really enough, especially if you're doing long, like 3-hour, especially if you're like online doing a full endurance race. I feel like 4 definitely isn't enough, and I would say a minimum of 5. I feel like if we could get one more to do a full, like, sunny, cloudy, rainy, cloudy, sunny, full transition like that, I feel like that's what we should be shooting for. But of course, if we can't, I don't know why we couldn't, but if we can't, then the 4 is still amazing, and the rain and weather in AMS2 is unlike anything else. Next up, this is just a nitpick I personally have with the UI. Some people might actually disagree with me on this, and feel free to, but sort by manufacturer of car and not class. I know this is easy for trying to find AI that you're going to race with, but I feel like it's just kind of against the grain of what every other sim has. Like, literally every other sim is by manufacturer. So I just feel like it's just, maybe it's a good thing. Personally, I feel like it would be easier for me to find cars if I could just go to the brand, because I know brand more than I do class, and I know what some people are going to say is, well, what about the Ritza unlicensed cars? Just have a Ritza brand then, or like a, you know, non-copyright brand or something like that. Obviously, they probably wouldn't name it that in the game, but, you know, it could be easily worked around. I feel like if this is something that a lot of people do want, there's no reason why we couldn't have this, and especially because AMS2 is completely unmoddable, there's no way that anyone in the community could do this. And finally, you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, I have about 20 hours on AMS2, but I still haven't found a way to tinker with my individual grid. Of course, you can have different class of cars together, but you can't pick how many of each car there is. So like, or each class, sorry. So let's say you're doing DPI, GTE, and GT4. You can't pick how many DPI you want, how many GTE you want, and how many GT4 you want. It kind of just auto, I think it just like divides it by 3 and fills it in that way, which isn't really realistic. I feel like when I'm trying to do like full immersive like IMSA stuff, having 15 DPI cars isn't really realistic. So if we could just have more customizability, and especially in classes, if you want to take it even further, literally be able to pick what car we want for each thing. So like have 5 BMWs, 3 McLarens, and 2 Corvettes, maybe, you know, things like that. Just something like that, like what Content Manager and literally every other sim does. Again, it's something that I feel like is so industry standard, I don't know why it's missing. But anyway, those are my 10 things that I want to see. 5 DLC and 5 gameplay changes for AMS2. I feel like if there was some way where every single one of these could be done, AMS2 would be definitely its own thing. I don't think it would just be a Project Cars 2 update like some people think it is. This would really put it in its own class, and if it could truly have as good a physics as like original Assetto Corsa, I don't know if it ever will, probably not, but if it could and it had the weather and it had all of the, you know, IMSA stuff, the WEC stuff, man, this thing would be an absolute joy to drive, and I would definitely drive it a lot more than I'm going to in the future, because now that I'm done making videos on it, to be honest, I don't see me playing it a ton unless there's new content to play. But anyway, that's all I really have for you guys today. Thank you guys for watching. We'll be back with Assetto Corsa videos tomorrow, actually. I'm sorry I was busy yesterday, so I couldn't record, but this is coming out a day late. But tomorrow, back-to-back videos. We'll be back to Assetto Corsa. So thank you all for watching, and I will see you all in the next one. Have a good one, guys.